good. So, Francie, Henry, Dennis, would it be fair to call you three some of the founding fathers of the club? As I'm not sure if we actually even had a full-time football pitch or kind of a dressing room and grounds before you lads came. Or do you want to talk about maybe that process?
No, I don't think that would be fair at all, no. You'd have to go back another generation to talk about the founding fathers of the club. Dennis's father, who was also Denny Farley, he would have been one of the first officials of the club, come back in 1936. And my father was on a minor team in 36 that played under the Kilmainham Wood name. So you couldn't call myself and Francie and Dennis the founding fathers by any means. We did play a significant role during a very busy time in the club when the club was developed and the pitch was got and a lot of football played. But no, we wouldn't qualify as the founding fathers, Francie. It was all there. It was all there when we got there, and we just took up the running.
Yeah, they would be the ones involved in that time. Sure, football was harmless enough to kick ball in the evening in the pitch. Everybody came, whether they were a player or not. Everyone arrived. And, but they were the ones that brought all that underage in the 50s and 60s to games and that. Mostly the two of them, and then sort of with Tony Finnegan has come on the scene after that. I don't even.
I'd say you're going back to names like Bobby Guggerty. No,
yeah.
Andy Guggerty.
Andy Guggerty, yes.
Who would be
my father and your father.
Yeah, and Maguire, Jimmy Maguire.
Yeah. Yes.
Tommy the Jobber Rooney. Who else, Francie, if we go way back?
I wouldn't be great familiar with them way back now.
Yeah.
Christy Plunkett was involved for a long time.
Yes, Christy Plunkett, very significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they would have been the ones brought in. I mean, I remember then underage football and, you'd have 10, 12 lads in the one jar going to the match and your heads would be sticking out windows and all kinds of things, but they were the ones brought us. They were the ones kept us going. That time, and then Charlie Martin, Wee John, Snowball, Jippy, Matt.
Or the next group.
They were the kind of the next group.
John Joe Crosby.
Sorry.
He was very much involved.
He was chairman. Tony Finnegan was chairman for a while. They were the next group in the 60s and 70s, I suppose. I don't.
Charlie Martin.
Chairman as well. Yeah. So then the adult team started coming on in the late 60s and 70s. We had
one intermediate in 65.
We won the intermediate in 65, that's correct. Father Kelly was curate here at the time.
Yeah.
The Father Cassidy's were playing. Wee John, as we call him, John Carlin and Snowball and Jippy and Matt and all of those. Lal Dillon, Pat Kavanagh, all of those lads.
Yeah.
They were the mainstay of the team that year. They lost the 64 final to Waterford by a point. And a goal in the last minute. And they went back in 65 and they won it. And then they were senior for a few years in 66. They did well the first year, if I remember, in senior. I was young for them at the time. But the older lads sort of were finished playing at that stage. And then the next Percy came on, and Frank Gilson and
the next group.
The next group, which really sort of developed.
We were the group then in the 70s.
We developed into the 70s. Then our group won the 21 championship in 73. That was the start of a new sort of an era of the younger brigade, I suppose. We had a good innings. We were beaten in two finals in the intermediate, 76 and 78. And then we eventually won it in 82 when the team was getting to the end of the Stella.
Yeah.
I think 8 or 9 of the team that won in the intermediate in 82 didn't play senior the following year, so if I remember rightly.
But we would have had a lot of fun in the 70s. I'd say every year we were in the intermediate quarter final, semi-final or final.
Yeah, well, what's a good team? We're up there with the best.
We're up there.
In our grade, intermediate.
Yeah.
And in that era, there was a serious amount of club tournament games on. And there were one in different places. And we used to absolutely enjoy going there on Tuesday evening or Thursday evening because there'd be sandwiches and a good bit of a few pints after it and that.
It's very interesting you said that because we had Brian Stafford here earlier And he said that was actually what got him to love the GAA, was actually going to those tournaments and to looking at the team and just the general crack that was had. Do you think there was more of an emphasis on the actual playing of it and the fun side of football, or what do you think was maybe different about the game back then?
I would absolutely say there was less training and more playing.
That's right. Everybody wanted to play.
It was all about playing the game, and you'd be sore if you got left off. You'd be as sore as the kids because you weren't on, because you couldn't get to play.
Right.
Whether you were any good or whether you weren't, and we weren't all that brilliant, but we liked to be playing. And I definitely remember summers when we played 2 games a week, every week.
That's right.
We'd always be playing football.
Yeah.
And that's what it was about. We might never train at all. And the training, I remember quite distinctly, the training consists of a group of lads arriving in the field, one group of them standing around the goals and the other group standing around the middle of the field and kicking the ball in and out to each other, one ball. So if you couldn't catch the ball, you wouldn't get a kick at.
Yeah.
So you had to learn like catchers, and the skills were different.
And the end of the training session was you did 2 laps of the field.
That's right.
And we're home. That was,
The most ironic thing I find about this was, so I went to St. Pat's School, but when I first went to St. Pat's School in 2005, the very good team, the Shane O'Rourke and Colin Clark and Darren Allen and Shane Carr, got to the All-Ireland final and lost, Paddy O'Rourke as well. But a lot of they would do a bit of training, but every day they would do exactly as you said. Half the team would get one side of the field, the other half get the other side of the field. They'd kick the ball, and everyone would jump up for it and win the ball. When it seems like an old-fashioned way of doing it, but it got that team tough, and it possibly got yourselves tough as well. The ability to win the ball and to go and fetch the ball.
I suppose at that time, everybody was working physically, doing physical work. There was nearly no office job or that sort of thing. So most of the lads were farmers or whatever, and they were fairly fit anyway.
Yeah.
But then the beginning of the next phase was probably the '82 when Brian Stafford arrived on the scene. And that year he was the beginning of the next bunch. And the 80s we got on rightly.
Yeah, we stayed intermediate all the time.
Intermediate, and I think we were in another 21 final or another semi-final.
We were.
And we got beat. I think we got beaten in one final. And but that was the start of the next younger phase coming at that stage, you know.
And just, I know he's kind of separate yourselves from the founding fathers, but I think it was you lads who did get that pitch and kind of put a centre of focus around the club.
What happened back in the 70s, the field where the houses are built across here, the parish owned it, and that was football field. And my father, Lord Mercy, he's 50 years dead next month, in actual fact, but the council built 19 council houses on it now. There was uproar locally because where were we going to play football? And for a long time we were like itinerants, if you know what I mean. We were begging, borrowing and stealing to go to get pitches here or there and all that. In fairness, we always had a pitch.
We always had a pitch.
We always got somewhere to play. The
Yeah.
facilities mightn't be great, but we weren't any different to any other club in the county. Like there was cattle on the field, and you often played football, and you tugged out behind the ditch and
Drove the cattle off.
drove your cattle off and played football and that sort of thing. So how the development, the pitch scene came into play was. I remember after '82, I think I became chairman in '83, if I remember rightly. And John and myself had the sale of a farm of land up here. There was 302 acres in it. And we sold 50 acres each side to do 2 different people, and we sold. But the field that's coming down behind Francie's house, we had a notion or a brainwave that maybe we could make it into a football field. Now, there was a severe slope in it. It sloped. There's a slope at the back of it now, but that slope came down most of the way down the middle. But anyway, we negotiated the price for it. We called it. I remember calling a meeting in the school, and we must have had 70 people at it when we were bringing this project, kind of in the very initial stages. Decided we'd let people know what we were thinking of doing and different things anyway. But that initial meeting, and nothing really was solved, so we called the meeting off anyway, and I remember saying to Francie, we called half a dozen of fellas back, John, Joe, yourself, Percy, who was Matt there at the time? Matt Clark. We gathered about half a dozen, Christo sure, as well. But anyway, we made the arrangements with the field, and when we got purchased in the field, I think we gave 2,000 an acre for 8 acres. And then we went to the process then of getting somebody to develop it, which was a phenomenal achievement, I suppose, in one sense. We got him, Peter McCardle, I think was his name, from Charing Cross or down...
McGowan.
McCardle, wasn't it?
Yeah, McGowan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a deal with him, I think, for 14,000 to
10,000 was his price.
10, was it?
Yeah.
10,000.
But anyway, the bulldozers were right in the field anyway, and there was a bulldozer up at the back of the field and you couldn't see it pushing stuff down. But anyway, we got serious contributions and help from the local community. Like.
Yeah.
We really set out a plan to raise money for it, and the first thing we decided to do was to look for donations from all around the community.
That's right.
And we gathered 10,000 from local people
House to house.
for that, house to house, and it was a great help to us. And then Kells were running a raffle or a monthly draw. And there was €100 for a ticket there, and we joined up with them, and we got great money from that
Was it
also.
Kells and St. Colin Kells?
St. Colin
Colin
Kells
Kells
in
in
Hazelby as well.
Yeah.
And that was our source. We done brilliant work at that time. We raised the money and paid for the whole lot. And
That's right. And then
we done in stages. The first stage was to develop the pitch and
That's right.
to buy and develop the pitch, which we done. And then we built the dressing rooms, and we got that finished and everything. And we really weren't indebted the whole way through. We got some small grants from the GAA, but we raised most of the money ourselves.
That's right. And then we had a bit over when we were finished. When we opened the pitch in '86, we were stepping up really. Mead won the Leinster Championship the previous Sunday, and Brian Stafford was on the team, and they hadn't won the Leinster Championship from 1970. And the whole thing was arranged on the following Sunday. We were opening the pitch here. I think we had what? We had many thousand,
10,000
we had 10,000 people up here at the opening.
That's right. Yeah.
Now it couldn't have fallen in. It couldn't have fallen into a better. Brian Stafford was the hero, and well, he was really starting to make his mark on the Meath team at the time, at full forward and freeze and even from play and that. But we had a fantastic opening, and we made a lot of money that day as well.
Yeah.
So that was when we opened it. I think it was August
86.
August 86.
Yeah.
August bank holiday. I think the Leinster final was the previous week. But then we went on from that. We did dressing rooms, as you say. But we had a bit of money over, and the field across the road came up for sale. And we went to the priest and we said we'd go harbour.
We bought that and joined with the parish.
With the parish. And I think it cost us 32,000 or 33,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had an extra, we played a bit of football, and it was grand. And it was actually a field, you nearly thought that the football field should have been on, because it was brilliant.
We're eating what is now.
We're eating what is now. But anyway, later on, we sold it for development, and between ourselves and the parish, we made a few pound, a good few pound.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that was.
And we had seed capital then, and when the sports capital grants came in, we had money, and we used that sports capital to,
Yeah.
for instance, the AstroTurf, we drained the pitch at one stage.
Yeah.
Francie was secretary for, I think, 30 years. And I think myself and Dennis was chairman and vice chairman for 25 years. I was vice chairman with Dennis, and he was vice chairman with me. And that covered a huge, Francie was secretary in the hall at the time.
Yeah.
And either one of us was chairman or vice chairman or all at that time as well. So, and I'd have to say that unlike now, you know, when you guys have meetings every month and have protocols for this and protocols for that, we had damn all of that. We would sort of decide something.
Very few meetings.
We'd decide something and we do it, and it was sort of, whatever the consequences were, we stood by it.
Right,
But we had great buy-in from the community, and the Dennis and Francie was talking about early on. I remember going into a house where nobody played football, and there wasn't a footballer at all. There had never been a footballer in it. And I think it was £100 a house, and 100 houses cost 10,000. And I went into that house and they just gave me the £100. And I'd never even seen them at a football match.
Yeah.
But there was such buy-in to the fact that we had a
I think what we had decided to do, we wrote a letter out explaining exactly what we were doing, and we assigned 2 people to each road or whatever it was, and then we left the letter in, and then they left the letter in and they went back. When they went back to collect the money, the development was on in the field at the time, and that's sure all the chat was, geez, look at the bull, the size of the bulldozer was in the field. And that was a serious help. We got contributions from people, as Henry said, that weren't involved in football at all.
In fairness, also, there was some money in the old carnival event.
Oh, yes.
And we got that.
That's right.
And that was very open. They gave us that.
That's right.
At one stage.
Forgot about that.
I forget what
Forgot
the
about
figure was. It was a few thousand minutes.
That's right. Yeah, the old Kilmainham Development Association used to have carnivals here for years and years in the 60s with the big bands and that. And I forgot about that Francie said that. I think Phelim Jogan and Uncle Wayne was the treasurer, and he had organised anyway that they whenever they had they handed it over to us, and sure it was put into the pot. Like we got serious contributions and help from the community.
At the time, like €1,000 that time was a lot of money.
It made a difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that was the pitch was sorted, and then the middle 80s we were there or thereabouts, but then I suppose this younger group of players started to develop as underage with Dan Breen and that. Now, and this, a lot of these guys had come from the houses that were built, that my father was involved in getting built in the early 70s. And I think 8 or 10 of the team became a group, an extraordinary group of lads. The one age, all men, came at the one time, and they started winning from underage on up the whole way. And then with Darren Breen was their main coach, but they were a joy to watch because they were absolutely serious skillful individuals. And they developed on. They started, I think, the first intermediate or the intermediate final in 73 was 93.
Sorry, 93, yeah. They lost that too.
We've discussed that.
Yeah,
that's quite a bit. But just from your own angle, obviously he's won an intermediate championship gig. He's won obviously the under 21. The famous under 21 that was celebrated last year again. But what would you say each of your favourite memory of actually playing football was? I know it's a big question, but just for your own time, so we went over that great team quite a bit already, but your own team was a special team, and it's probably an undervalued team considering what can buy us, but we'd love to be winning intermediate championships again today, let me tell you.
I suppose for us, we'd have to go back to the under 21 because we were that much underdogs that we wouldn't even be dreamt of having a chance of winning. And went off on that Sunday in the final, and we beat Summerhill, and I think 10 or 11 of the Summerhill players won the next 3 senior championships in a row. Now they were fairly sick for losing it, but to us it was a serious achievement. And we trained in the field down there at Porters with the lights of the car running up and down the hill.
And we trained very little. And most of the team didn't train at all. Yeah. A few of us trained a bit, but most of the team didn't train at all. Yeah. But we won it fair and square. We won it by actually quite a margin, and we were winning the whole game. But actually, they barely scored at all in the first half. But I think it was the genesis of the team that kept us going nearly for 2 decades after, and all through the 70s and all through a lot of the 80s as well. And you asked, what do we look back and see? You don't even look back and see a victory as the be all and end all. It's the time you spend playing, and it's your involvement with the club that really stands out in your life. That's every fellow who played 20 years ago looks back and thinks, I'd love to be able to play now. And even if it was 40 years ago and 50 years ago, you'd still love to be able to
We're
do
looking
it.
back 50 years,
We'd still love to be able to do it,
It'll take the same.
you know. And
What year did we play screen above in Centrestown? It was
No.
Column,
O'Rourke.
no, not Column Road. He used to be chairman of the
O'Rourke.
Colin Cromwell,
Colin Cromwell wrote a book after,
Yeah.
and he reminisced on the games he saw down through the years, and he said that that game between Wood and Screen was the best game he ever saw. And he saw a lot of games, football.
313 to 214. I think.
Screen had all the big players that time.
Trevor Giles and John
Trevor
McDermott
Giles
and
and Colin Rowe.
Colin O'Rourke
What's it?
and
McDermott, yeah.
oh yeah, Liam Hayes.
Hayes, yeah. It was an absolutely fantastic game of football.
Yeah,
313 to 214, I think.
it won't be a point.
Would be 1 or 2 points.
Yeah,
And it, for some unbelievable unknown reason, it never was. There was no camera at it. At that time, we used to have cameras at games.
yeah.
But that was, let's say, the only. That was one
They
day.
didn't have it.
It was it was an absolute. Trevor Giles came off the field and he says, "I never thought you could play football like that." They didn't expect. I mean, they, as far as Screen would have been concerned, we were the minnows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What? Then you give a cheek coming up to play us type of thing. But
We had a great bunch of players at that time, you know. Terrific players, were really, really good class players.
And
If you go back to, you know, to something Francie said there earlier too, we've always managed to finance us very well in Wood. There was very little debt
Yeah, very
Um,
good.
at the initial pitch and then the dressing rooms. The AstroTurf, I know the AstroTurf cost about 140,000 to build at the time it was built, and every penny of it was paid for the day we opened. My brother Frank was development officer within the club, and he was very influential in drawing down those sports grants. In fact, during his time as development officer, he drew down 260,000 sports council grants, two or three tranches, and it made a huge difference to the draining of the pitch, the putting up of the second platforms, the dressing rooms, the lights, the new dugouts,
Yeah.
the AstroTurf, all of the infrastructure that has served the club very, very well was done, and those sports council grants were great for us. And because we had a bit of seed capital that Dennis talked about earlier that we got from the buying and the selling of the field across the road, that gave us a great head start. Like if you had 40,000, you could apply for 40 more, or whatever the case might be. So we never were a club that was saddled with debt, because it's a very dangerous thing in a small rural club, you know, because somebody has to carry the can for it.
Yeah.
We raised plenty of money, but we were always raising it into a positive project and a current account that was in the black. So on the finances of the thing, it's very important too that we had Percy McKeever here as the late Percy McKeever as treasurer, and we used to say that Percy minded the money better than his own. He'd be the last man to pay anybody anything because he wouldn't want to give club money away.
Yeah.
But he'd done a great job for years and years and years. And we had a core of people then who worked within the club. People like, you know, Philip Farley and Percy and I probably shouldn't start naming them because I forget them.
Chris was very
Christo,
influential.
great man in the club for years and years and years. And a group of people like that. And we say, we weren't always the best at having meetings or doing things formally, but we seemed to get things done and kept the thing going, you know.
But I'd have to say that there never was much of a problem with anything we set our mind to do. Like when we had someone come in with an idea or whatever, and everyone listened and might have tweaked it or twixed it slightly one way or the other, and away you went. Everyone was on board. Like there was never any rows as such, or even too many arguments. You just walked out, like training session was over. The half dozen lads just stood outside and said, "We want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do the other." That was the meeting. It was over. The thing was done the following week, and kind of off you went.
Off you went.
And nobody really, I suppose you'd have to say, nobody really objected or said yes, I or boo to us. Like everything was sort of, like it was all there to be seen. the progress that was made, you know. And, like, we were a very, very small club. The corner of the county that we were in, like, our pick was very small. Like, we did fantastic. We did fantastic down the years, like.
We probably, with the group of players that we had, we probably should have won a couple of more senior championships. We're just unlucky to come across them shortly. They had a very, very strong team at that stage.
Later on, no, my biggest disappointment on the senior team the year after we won the championship, '97. Anyway, Paddy Clark was, well, he had promised me he would come back, but he didn't anyway. But I think it was the quarter final up in Navan. We were leading them by a point or 2 points. And we lost the ball up at the hospital end, and the ball landed in our net, and the kick out the game was over. And I suppose the biggest ever regret that I have in my time being involved in Community football is not winning again, not winning '97, because we would have won it. They won it, and there were no great shakes of a team like.
No.
But we were very unlucky with kicking the ball that day. But no, we enjoyed it, I have to say.
Yeah, enjoyed our time at it, yeah.
Enjoyed our time, surely, absolutely.
Yeah, and we enjoyed the fact too that we're seeing, the same families coming around, and, my lads, you and Harry played, and Francie lads played, and his grandsons are playing, and Dennis's relations are playing, and the thing is still, the club is still going on, and the same families are in, and new families coming into the area, and they get involved in the club, and the club is still the heart and soul of Kilmainham Wood.
Yeah, definitely. It was the first major thing that was ever done in Kilmainham Wood was the development of the pitch, and the buying and development of the pitch. That was a big thing then.
Yeah.
And still is. It's a great facility to have there, and it's been used every day of the week at the moment.
And the big plus to it is it's so close to the school, and it's in the middle of the village.
It's ideally situated also.
Thanks very much for your time, lads.
Sorry.
We'll send you the bill for the fee.
Well,
Yes.
Appearances, yeah. Anyway,
don't really edit that down to make some common sense of it.
yeah, there's an awful lot of stuff added, but no,